Welcome to Friday Fish Facts. I'm your host, Ron DeSantis. I have really been getting into betas lately, and I've been watching a lot of Taylor's channel because, I'm really getting into betas lately. I only have 4 currently, but I do like to keep them community tank style. So that's kind of what I even have one in this 220 back here. It's the meanest beta I've ever owned, and it can handle it. She can handle herself with those tiger bars back there, no problem. So anyway, let's welcome Taylor. Taylor, hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Thank you for
Now, you
being
only
here
have
today.
4 betas, only a
I know.
4.
I'm just getting into it. My son had one for a long time, a black orchid crown tail. And then we just added a female to his tank a little while ago, and they get along swimmingly. And then my daughter has got a rainbow veil tail in her tank, and then we've got this blue dragon female in this one.
Well, nice. It's a good start, but I think you need about 10 more.
Yes, I'm sure that's going to happen. So Taylor, you have boomed as far as your YouTube channel goes. You've been on for, I think April's going to be 2 years for you, maybe somewhere in around there.
Yeah, right around April is going to be my 2-year mark, and my channel has grown pretty fast. I'm at like 42,000 subs right now, which is crazy, but I've just had pretty good growth. I think I attribute that to, in the beginning, I had some videos that did pretty well and went kind of viral, at least, from my standpoint for my channel size. And I feel like that helped. It helped a lot. This is Phoebe.
Oh, what's her name?
This is Phoebe, my Chihuahua.
Oh, hey,
She's
Phoebe.
all clingy because she knows I'm doing something. That's just what she does.
She's super cute.
Thank you. She knows it. It's a problem.
Speaking of big booms for you, you had an unboxing video that had 500 and something thousand views on it. What do you attribute to having these giant videos like that?
I think for that one, it was just an interesting title and thumbnail. But what's interesting is that was ever made, and the first one on my channel, and it was terrible. In my opinion, it was awful because I never really made videos. I wasn't showing the fish very well when I was unboxing it.
Yeah.
But for some reason, everybody just loved it, probably because of the fact that it was a huge box of betas. How often do you see that?
Yeah, you had, I know some of your other unboxing videos, you have your unboxing of the fish, and then you show what the fish looks like in the tank after. And I think that big one there was more just showing what's coming out of the box, right?
Yeah, and if I had known any better back then, I would have done showing it at the fish afterwards, all nice and pretty swimming around, but yeah. I just didn't know any better.
Well, you do that now, so.
I do. I do that now. I've learned my lesson. I had so many people complaining about it.
Did you? Well, they just wanted to see your beautiful bettas.
The comments on that video are just nasty comments. It's funny.
I'm gonna just say hello to some people that are in this chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And normally I have it on my phone, but now I got it here. So we've got DIY Animal Projects, Sharon Basil, Learning to Fish Keep, Cameron, Ernest Aquatics from the other side of the country. I'm in Canada, by the way. Simply Betta is here. We have Dean's Fish Room. He's our guest next week. We have got Rob93 is in the house. Jay Aquafunk is in the house. Aqua Center is here. Wayne Just My Fish is here. Lisa's Fishbowl. Sandy Swagger. And Balducks Tropicana. Hello. Tazawa Takes. Zenzo. He was on 2 weeks ago. How are you doing, Zenzo?
That one. Hi, Zenzo. Hi, everybody.
Eric B is here. And I think Jim Meeker is here. JW Aquariums is here. Jackson K is here. And Mr. D is here. We are back to the bottom of the chat. So, Taylor, how long have you been keeping fish?
Oh, could you repeat that once? It kind of broke up.
Oh, sorry. How long have you been keeping fish?
Oh gosh, off and on ever since I was a kid. I've had fish in fish tanks, but I've only taken it to the next, level of obsession a couple of years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. Not long, not long at all. Going at it like I have been.
Well, that's kind of like all of us. I kind of have really only had the full-on obsession the last like 3 years or something like that.
Yeah, it's a pretty recent obsession and a pretty recent like huge interest of mine. But I'm
So what did
having a
you?
lot of fun.
What was the first fish you ever had?
First fish I ever had was probably like a goldfish. You know, back when I was a kid, like a Walmart goldfish. I remember it because all of a sudden my goldfish got the white slime disease.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, where it has this big, stringy,
yeah,
nasty
yeah,
white slime, and they all died, and I was brokenhearted. And that's like my first memory of fish. And after that, it got a little bit better. But
yeah.
I had a cousin like show me how to keep fish and be my role model. But then I really didn't do all that much until my recent obsession just a few years ago.
Um, hello, Aquascaping 101. He's here too. I just wanted to jump over and say hi to Carson. Um,
Absolutely.
so your community tank, which how's that one going? Is it still going?
Well, I was a little breakup again.
Oh, sorry, the community tank. We'll get to the Hobbit tank in a bit.
Oh, community tank. That was a while ago.
Yeah.
So my community tank has since been dismantled because my favorite goldfish out of it died. Nugget, my little
Yeah,
nugget shaped
yeah, Nugget.
goldfish.
Yeah, I'm familiar with
Yeah, he was the
Nugget.
best. And a while after, quite a while after that video, he died, and then I totally lost interest in the tank. And so I dismantled it. You know, I moved fish to different tanks,
Yeah.
and I think I'm gonna get rid of that tank and just put something new there. Yeah. So that's what happened to my community tank.
And I know that you've sold all your orange laser Corys now.
I
Um,
did. I
okay.
had a big school of orange laser Corys, CW10s, and they were great. I bred them and I made my school nice and big, but then I just decided I need to focus a little bit more on what I love most, and that's bettas, both domestic, and I wanted to get a few wild species. So I decided to sell those guys, and it was really hard to do. It was a battle, internal battle with myself.
Could you put betas with corridors?
You know, I don't see why not. I don't think they'd harm each other, but I kept my Corys
Sorry, I think
at a
we
cooler
lost.
temperature.
No, you're
Uh-oh.
back. Yep, yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry about that. It's my reception in the house. Sometimes it gets a little spotty.
Yeah.
So I never kept my bettas and my Corys together because I kept my Corys at a lower temperature than I like. I prefer to keep bettas. Like my Corys that were like at kept my betta fish, you know, at pretty high temperatures, like about 80 plus.
For your betas, eh? Wow. But so much for people keeping them in bowls and thinking that's warm enough, eh?
Yeah, that's tough. Maybe if you live somewhere very, very hot, it would work. But I just think keeping them attracting
Uh,
diseases and sicknesses.
DIY
And
is asking. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead. I'm just rambling.
Yeah, DIY was asking a question about what kind of tanks do you have for your betas. Maybe you could talk about your water changing system, the Betta barracks, and how
Sure.
you came up with it, and kind of what kind of tanks that you use for your betas.
I use my betta
Oh,
fish. Um, I use a mix. Like I have regular tanks like 10 gallons and 20 gallons that I usually use for spawns and spawns
yeah,
growing out and places to keep females that have grown together. But then besides that, I use a jar system for my growing out males and my adult breeder fish. I use a jar system and I get a lot of flack for it, but I maintain it very properly. A lot of people don't really get that this is like the traditional way of keeping betta fish. And so, which basically means you have to remove the males from the spawn whenever they start to get a little bit too old, they start fighting, they start getting aggressive.
yeah.
You have to remove them and put them somewhere. So for me, it's these big plastic jars. And so that's what I did for a long time. And I just manually changed out the water. You know, you have to be very careful about your water parameters when you do something like that. And
Hmm.
but you know, I was getting so sick of all the water changes. I decided to make a barracks system, Betta barracks, or like a recirculating water system. I have a video of it on my channel, like how
It's like
like
one
going.
of your great videos. I like that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun video, and it took me a really long time. But I basically made it so all I have to do is press a button, and about 20 gallons of water gets changed all at once for this Betta barracks. It's like a flow through system,
Yeah.
and I'm actually going to turn it into a recirculating system
Oh,
with a
that,
sump down below. Because right now it's just a flow through.
well, it's pretty cool. Anyway, we got a few more people in the chat
Great.
here. If I miss you, I apologize. But Candy Overhauls was here. Priscilla MK Art, Pam 54 Punchy, Hugh Prolific Breed. I've seen Brandon, Mr. Beast Fish and Things. Hey guys, thanks for coming
Hey
in and
guys.
chatting with us and Taylor. And please bring your questions because we will definitely get to them.
Remember to
Taylor.
come over to chat. I have the tendency to forget to look at chat. I'm bad at live streams.
What about okay, so we were talking about your Betta barracks and watching you build it and watching you build some of your stands and racks and stuff like that. You're a very handy person. Is that something that you've always had, or did you like go to school for that or anything like that?
No, I haven't been handy at all. I just decided, this is something I have to learn because
Yeah.
I have all these things I want to do. I don't want to be like buying, hiring people to do stuff for me. So I just have to learn how to cut and measure wood. I have to learn how to properly do this and properly do that. And it graduated to making my own stands and making, bigger things. And I'm so thankful that I did this because now, I'm teaching myself slowly just how to do anything by myself DIY. And I really like that. But before my hobby, I really didn't do much besides like pound nails in a wall, and that's about it. So I taught myself everything, mainly just like through watching YouTube videos.
That's funny that you say that. There's that video where you're making your tanks and drilling them, and you're like, this is what I do for fun. My wife and I are like aquascaping on Friday, Saturday nights. We're like, this is the best Friday, Saturday night. I wonder what everyone else is doing.
I know. Sometimes I'm up until like 2 in the morning on my really cool like Saturday nights. Yeah, just doing chores and building shelves and painting wood, and that's about it. It's so exciting.
I know. We had a few more people in the chat here. We had Jesse, HC Aqua, Melvin, Phoenix Aquatic 411 Legacy, B-Mob is here, Jackson K, Big City Bettas, Amber was there, Lunar Bettas is here, and Lunar Bettas has got a question for you. Is Taylor breeding a specific strain of bettas for a specific goal?
Yeah, I have a few projects going on. I have a strain that I just kind of started recently, a spade tail strain, where I'm taking half moon plakat bettas and I'm trying to breed for like a spade tail shape in the caudal in the rear fin.
Yeah.
So that's like one, though I'm not super far into the project yet. And I also have let's see, what else do I have? I'm working on a gold strain, like trying to get a really nice full gold color with a yellow body gold metallic layer, just these beautiful bright golden fish. And I'm working on some, like a strain of half moon kois and also some short fin kois. And I do have a lot going on, and I'm slowly figuring out like, okay, what do I like best that I can just focus on? Because I have the tendency to do too much, and I can't decide what I like best until I experiment with a lot of it.
I'm like you. I like to jump into things like 0 to 60. My wife doesn't necessarily like that about me, but I'm like that too.
It's a problem.
It's a problem. A few more people I just want to say hello to. Joseph, JH Aquatics. Hello. Alluring Bettas is here. K-Town Reefer. Hello. Just in case I miss anybody, I want to make sure that you're all said hello. And Mermaid Atara. Hello.
Hey, Jackson King, I think, has a question. Any other guppy plans? Is that for me? I do have some guppies. I have a strain of golden guppies and white guppies that I was working on for a while. I kind of lost interest in the whites because they started turning like a cream color, but I do still have my golds. And I'm having fun with them. They're my little side project, but I definitely like my bettas more.
Speaking of your guppies, you've got guppies. You have a website where you sell fish and ship fish. You've got a bunch of bettas on there. You say betta or beta?
I say betta, but you can say whatever you want, man.
I say betta, I think.
Sometimes when I'm talking to lay people, like regular people, I'll say beta. Because if I say betta, people don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
But I like saying
Yeah, I go back and forth. I
Oh,
go back
need
and
that.
forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So it doesn't really matter,
yeah, okay.
but I like
So you,
saying,
anyway, yeah, you like saying both.
hmm.
Okay, I got a question here. I know there's some questions coming in the chat, but I'm finishing my question here because Taylor, you have got guppies, like we said, bettas, plants, snails on your website that you ship online. How are you finding that? Well, that company that
It's
you've got
fun.
there.
Well, I like it a lot. I try to keep my website stocked. I think all my fish are sold out at the moment. The hardest part about getting fish on a website is photography for me. It's my bottleneck because it's hard to take nice pictures and a nice full flare of these fish because they're so
Mm-hmm.
fast. It takes so much time. But having the website's fun. Like I run out of things really fast, but I try to keep snails and plants on there. I have Indian almond leaves. I have like starter cultures for microworms and vinegar eels. I'm going to try to get grindle worms on there. A lot of food cultures, just
Yeah.
complementary things to people interested in betta fish.
Um, Hello, Mandy, my hectic life pets. How are you? Terry Lindsay. Terry's got a question here. Taylor, can you tell us how to go about breeding bettas? Tank size recommended, water and temperature parameters, feeding foods, etc.
Yeah, I can, but I feel like that would take me an hour to talk about. Like that's a lot. That's a huge
That's a
question.
big
That's
question.
like a
That's a big
series.
question. Well,
Yeah, in fact,
what's the top of
I've
the
been to
question?
make
How you go about breeding bettas? Let's
like
start with that.
a series about breeding bettas. The first thing I would start with is making sure that you have a good pair. Like, do you have a male and female? Do they have good traits? Are they strong fish? Are they healthy fish? What are their fins like? Can they hold their fins up? If they're long finned, like what's their body shape like? There's so much that you can look at when it comes to these fish,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you want to come to breed them. I feel like that's like the first thing that you have to start with is making sure that your breeding stock is as high quality as you can get, and that you know what you're breeding for, you know what your goals are.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's how the first thing that you do when you go about doing that.
Jackson K's got a question here. Are either of you going to any conventions this year?
Ooh, yes, I'm going to be going to Aquashella in Dallas at the end of March. Definitely Aquashella. As for anything else, I'm not sure. How about you?
I'm going to probably go to AGA, which is the Aquatic Gardener Association, which is just down
Ooh, okay.
in Washington, Seattle. So it's like a 4 hour drive. It's actually near Tacoma. So it's like a 4 hour drive for me. So not too bad.
All right.
How was Aquashella?
I was thinking about going to that, but I'm not quite sure. It's about a 2-day road trip for me. Plus, I have a toddler. It just might be a little bit hard.
I know what you're saying. Let's hear about Aquashella. Was it fun?
Oh, I haven't been to Aquashella, but I'm going
Oh
in, or
yes,
haven't been
you went to
yet.
the aquatic experience. How was the aquatic
Yes.
experience?
Aquatic experience was really fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting everybody and just, hanging out and having a good time. Plus, I'd never been to any kind of convention before, like a big fish convention. I don't have anything like that around me. That was my first time. So I had a lot of fun.
Were a lot of people that you met before? Who had you
No, I
met
never
before?
met anybody in person before.
Oh, that's cool. You're
Yeah, it was my first
mentioning
time meeting everybody.
going on a road trip over to Washington. You did get a road trip over to Portland where you checked out the wet spot. What was that like?
I did. It was fun. I went to go meet my dad in Portland. And we went to the wet spot because, of course, I had to do something fish related on this road trip, and it was
Yeah,
fun. Getting
yeah.
to go into a big pet store because I never get to see that kind of thing where I am. I'm in
Hmm.
like a pet store desert or a fish store desert. There's really nothing. So I had a lot of fun. I could have been in there for hours just staring at everything, but I had a cranky 2-year-old at the time, and it was a little bit hard. But it was fun.
Hello, JQ channel. Thanks for stopping in, my friend. Another random question here. What do you feed your betta fry?
Ooh, what do I feed my fry? So when they're first they first start to develop. They're tiny, like they're itty bitty little eyelashes. You have to feed them really tiny live foods. So, what I start with is vinegar eels and microworms. And I
Hmm.
pretty much rely on those two items for a few days until I feel that the fry are big enough to then go on to baby brine shrimp. And then after that, it's kind of a mix of all those three things until they get to a
Yeah.
nice bigger size. And then I start to feed live worms like grindle worms. like the
Oh, that's
smallest
another thing.
grindleworms.
That's another thing that you sell too, right? The microworms.
Yeah, I do sell vinegar eels and microworms, but not grindleworms yet. I'm still trying to recover from a culture crash I had. But
Ooh,
hopefully in a while I'll have some because I feel like grindleworms are one of the best foods like a fish keeper can have because you can feed itty bitty fish and you can feed,
yeah.
pretty decent sized like adult betta fish. They're very nice.
So what is your favorite type of betta and why?
Oh, that's hard because it changes, as my interests change.
Yeah.
What's my favorite type? I feel like my passion lies with domestics.
Yeah.
And out of domestics, it changes all the time. But right now, I really, really like koi. I think kois, they're beautiful with their pretty patterns. I really like fancy marbles because, again, beautiful with pretty patterns.
Hmm.
And now I'm trying to think. I think if I had to choose my favorite ones, it would be those, like working on pretty patterns. But like I said, it kind of changes all the time as I figure out what I'm interested in.
I'm definitely into the koi's right now as well.
Yeah, they're
I've
so
got a.
pretty.
They
I
are.
love
I know.
both long and short fin ones. I just think they're gorgeous.
Me too. Recently getting into the short fin. Mr. B's got a question. Is temperature important for breeding bettas?
Yes, I would definitely say so, at least keeping them at the proper temperature. Like for me, I usually put my adult fish in a spawning tank at about 80 degrees, and
Hmm.
I have great results. Like sometimes even warmer. I don't usually go below 80.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I think I've done like 79 before, and it
Oh
works
yeah.
fine. So I do warm temperatures, but I keep my entire fish room at a very warm temperature, and everybody is right around 80 degrees.
Cool. Is there a hardest type of betta to keep?
Hardest, I would say some of the wild species.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, they're going to take more care. They're going to take different parameters. It's just have to keep a little more things in mind, trying to recreate
Yeah.
like what's that like? What's going to be best for this fish?
Is there a good beginner beta to start with?
Oh, for beginners, I think domestic, fantastic. Yeah, domestics are like one of the easiest, hardiest fish that you could possibly get. It's to mess up. I mean, you can easily mess up. A lot of people do by, not changing water or keeping them in freezing
Yeah.
cold water, things like that. But I think
Hmm.
definitely domestic betas are some of the easiest you can do
So
for
there's no
beginners.
specific like tail, like veil tail, crown tail, makes no difference.
Not in my opinion. They're all the same species. They just have different traits.
Uh,
You could say that short fins, I mean, they might have less issues like fin rot.
yeah.
So maybe a short fin would be the easiest, or a little female.
Alluring Bettas has got a question here. Are you currently or planning on working on hybridizing bettas, and what are your thoughts on this?
Hybridizing them. I know that some wild species have been hybridized to produce really brilliant colors, and
Yeah.
I'm not against it. I mean, that's what we do. We create new species and
Hmm.
new varieties in the
New
hobbies all
strains,
the
yeah.
time. Yeah, I mean, that's how we get all of our domestic strains is through, us tinkering and selectively breeding. So I'm not opposed to it, but I know some people prefer the true wilds, and I think it's important to maintain that. It's important to maintain species and bloodlines, but then there's the side that, if you create a hybridized strain, I think that's just fine. I mean, you're doing what people do. But I think it's important to know the history of your strain and maybe not mix it with true strains. And that's something to get into. That's like a whole nother topic
That's a
on
debate.
conservation.
We got a few more people in here. Hello, Dan. Hello,
Yeah.
Otter Creek Aquatics. How's it going, guys? Um,
Hey guys, thanks for
well,
stopping by.
did you ever think about doing a gecko channel as well? And if you had to pick,
Ooh.
would it be bettas or geckos?
Probably bettas. Like they're my first love. But
Yeah.
I've decided I really like geckos, like a lot. Weirdly, I'm interested in geckos and I want to explore that more. I probably never make another channel just because of all the work it takes. I just
Yeah.
occasionally have a gecko video on my regular channel.
Welcome, Dan. Dan's Fish is excited to learn from Simply Betta.
Hi, Dan's
We
Fish.
all are, Dan.
Aw, thank you.
Um,
Yeah, I
So how
love
many
geckos.
geckos do you have? How
Just
many do you have
one,
right now?
Cresty.
And
A little
and
crested
how
gecko
many?
is super Dalmatian, and she's awesome. I think it's a she, but it's my first gecko. I'm learning a lot. I'll totally admit I'm not a gecko expert.
Yeah.
I'm just a beginner who's turning slowly into an intermediate. That's all. But I love them.
And how many bettas have you got going right now?
Oh my god, I don't even know. I don't even know if I want to say it. I have a lot of adults, a lot of juveniles who are growing into adults who
Yeah.
will be for sale or go to my local fish store.
Uh-huh.
I have a bunch of spawns growing out. Like if I just had to guess, I might have 350.
Wow, that's awesome. Which kind of brings me to my next question. When you met your husband, were you keeping fish?
Nope, no fish.
And
All I
what
have
does
is one chihuahua.
he think of the hobby? Is he supportive? Is it a fight?
No, he's very supportive of it. Like he really likes that I found something that I'm so interested in because I went for a while feeling kind of lost, I guess, and not really knowing what to do. But
Yeah.
we met, and it wasn't until years later that I took him, to a restaurant, to a little Mexican restaurant, and I was like,
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about something. He's like, what is it? And I'm like, I really want to get some bettas and I really get into breeding them because at that time, I'd been super just into reading about
Oh
them.
yeah, yeah.
And he was like, all right, sure, why not? And I said, I want to make a YouTube channel about it. Little did he know that it would turn into what it's turned into. He's very supportive of it.
So you didn't start with, hey, I'd like to have 350 betas, an entire room dedicated to them, and a YouTube channel that's going to take up a lot of my time. You didn't start with that.
I never mentioned that. Mm-mm.
Otter Creek Aquatics is saying, where do you sell your bettas, which we have gone over. The website, did we even say Simply Betta Fish? That's the
Yes, it's
website.
simplybetta.com. I usually sell
Simplybetta.com.
on my website. I also sell to my local fish store. A lot of my fish go there.
Brandon's wondering, what is the realistic expectations for a spawn from bettas?
Are realistic expectations like numbers or
Probably like how many
like
do you can expect to survive from
oh
a spawn?
there's a lot of traits that can affect how many survive in a spawn.
Yeah.
Hey, no, sorry, my chihuahua's growling at something.
Yeah.
It really comes down to maybe how you keep the spawn tanks and also chance. Like a female betta can lay hundreds of eggs, and you can get hundreds of fry coming out of.
Uh-oh. Did we
But
freeze?
pneumonia spot die, maybe this, maybe that. But up to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds is possible. But what's realistic is maybe you might lose a bunch because you're not perfect and you're a human being.
Right.
Like sometimes I get like 20, sometimes I get 200. It just
So
depends.
how long until you separate them?
It depends on the spawn. Like sometimes
Yeah.
I won't really see any flaring or aggression or nastiness until I forget. I don't really count the months. I just go by how they look and their size.
Yeah.
But sometimes you'll get really, really nasty ones you just need to take out early.
Um, do you watch a lot of fish channels? And if so,
Yes, I
what are some
do.
of the ones that you like to watch a lot?
I
Maybe
do, and I
help
tend and
inspire. Sorry, I missed. Sorry, what was that?
I watch a lot but I also miss a lot because I tend to just get so busy.
Yeah.
But I watch a lot of like Rachel O'Leary, King of DIY, Aquarium Co-op, Creative Pet Keeping, Bob Steenfot Aquatics, and gosh, there's so many, and they're finding more every day. Like Joey Young, and I love Serpa Design, and it's just I have a huge selection to the point where I can't really watch everybody's videos because I have so many pop up on my feed.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There are probably, well, there are literally hundreds, maybe even getting close to 1,000 different fish channels. It
Yeah,
is hard to watch them all.
yeah, Aquarium
Aquarium
Co-op,
Monster.
yeah, all the big channels, and I watch all the big channels, and then I watch like 60 little channels that I just can't even think of right now because it's a huge list.
It's a huge
And
list.
yeah, it's a huge list, and there's no way I could name everybody that I watch. And it's only fish people. that I watch too. Fish and a few reptile people.
Yeah, pretty much for me too. Blue Waters is here. Hello, Blue Waters. How you doing? My favorite video that you've done is the Lord of the Rings one. And that one came out recently. If nobody's seen it, you have to check this one out. So creative. Like the tank is unreal. How long, start to finish, did it take you to make that tank?
Oh man, I'm happy you like the Hobbit tank. Like I love that tank, and that tank, it took me 3 years to make. And it's
Yeah.
not because the process took me 3 years, it's because it was my first planted tank that I ever made. And I learned a lot from it. I killed all my plants multiple times. I ruined my decorations multiple times. It was just such a learning experience that it took me that long to perfect because I kept messing up. But it was such a
Maybe.
fun thing. And I'm actually going to make a series out of it. I'm going to have more like fantasy themed planted tanks coming up really shortly. The only thing that's preventing me right now is I really injured my wrists. And
Oh
I
yeah.
have to maybe like 4 or 6 more weeks until I can actually work with my hands again. It's pretty crazy. But
Oh
man, I have
no.
so many fun plans with custom decorations.
I just want to, maybe one of the mods can link the video on the chat here for those of you that haven't seen it, because it is totally worth a watch. Hello to some
Thanks.
people here as well. Dr. S, Carrie, Adrian, AL. How's everyone doing today? So you have a series coming up. You're going to make a series of like how to make decorations. I know you said in that video you don't want to say how you made the decorations, but can you
Yeah.
go on a little bit more about the series?
Okay, well, I don't want to talk about how I did the decorations because I
Uh-huh.
had some of them fail. And like we're talking about, like I put like 8 hours of work into this decoration and it failed. And I don't yet know if it was because maybe I did the armature wrong. Maybe I chose the wrong sculpting material. Maybe I didn't seal it perfectly. Maybe, there's so many variations and I don't want to give wrong info because if I did that and then somebody else out there spent 8 hours making a decoration
Right.
and then it got ruined because I was wrong, I don't think I could take it. So I'll be experimenting with making custom decorations and custom backgrounds with a variety of materials and then experimenting with what actually works best. And I
Something
have
that
a
I did.
lot of different materials to use, actually.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Something
And
that I did learn from that video. My wife loves aquascaping, not so much like maintaining fish tanks, but she likes the aquascaping part. And often Anubias comes floating back up to the top because you're not supposed to bury the roots. But when you showed how you glued the weights on, that was such a cool idea. We're totally gonna try that.
thanks, absolutely. Yeah, a little bit of glue won't hurt an Anubias. So I ended up buying some plant weights on eBay that it turns out
Yeah.
it wasn't flat and skinny like what
Yeah.
I was expecting. It came in this little cylindrical tube, like a noodle. I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? This is weird. So I just chopped it up with scissors and super glued it to my, and it worked great to the
It worked
Anubias. It worked
awesome.
fantastic.
What was the biggest challenge with that tank, the Hobbit tank?
The biggest challenge was stop destroying my plants, stop killing them all, stop letting everything overgrow and then kill everything under it. It was just the challenge of learning from zero. I see a
It's
question from Big City Bettas. She says,
yeah.
how did you seal the decorations? Well, this is something I want to experiment with. I've
Hmm.
heard people having good success with like polyurethane, like sealing it with a clear polyurethane.
Yeah, yeah.
I've also heard success of sealing with a epoxy resin, and I don't know what's best yet. And I'm not really sure if I want to say because I had some fail.
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
Experimentation is coming using a variety of different things so I can see, like, oh, am I going to kill all my shrimp or all my snails again this time, or what's going to happen?
Quick Lord of the Rings question: what's better, the books or the movies?
Oh, well, the diehard me will always say the books, right? That's one of my
Uh-huh.
first loves right there. But the
Yeah.
movies were fantastic, and it's like a whole different experience when you look at it from a cinematic viewpoint, and they're both amazing. That's my answer.
I think it's one of the. I usually like. I'm a big Harry Potter nerd too, and like, yeah, I like the books better. But Lord of the Rings, I actually like the movies better. But
Yeah, the
anyway,
movies are
it's just,
fantastic. The books, they're written in a very old style, so sometimes it can be a little bit hard to read. But like,
yeah.
it's hard to beat the original books when you're a diehard fan. But man, the movies are fantastic.
What's something that beginners should know before they get a betta fish?
My husband just commented that he's silently judging me on my Lord of the Rings answer. Stop it. Go away. I'm sorry. What was that question? I got distracted.
The question was, what do you recommend for beginners who have never had a betta before?
Recommend like tank wise?
Sure.
All right. For people who've never had a betta fish before, I'd recommend really researching to make sure what they need. Like a lot of people really don't realize that they're a very tropical fish. They like warm water, you need a heater. And then I always recommend having a tank with a good amount of water volume because
Hmm.
the more water volume you have, the less difficult it is to maintain. Also, get a cycled filter that's going to make everything just so much easier. Some people look at me and my jarred system and ask like, "Oh, well, how come you're using kind of these small containers and you don't have a filter?" And the way I do it, I have to change out my water like every couple days. It's a lot of work, and the average person doesn't want to do that. So I recommend doing it the good old fashioned, highly recommended way of a nice big tank, cycled filter, water, uh, heater in the water, decorations, all that stuff.
Kingsley is here. He says that it is one of the best movies ever. That's Kingsley from Twin Cities Guppies.
Yeah.
So he's in Minnesota. You're in Mountain Time as well. Are you? What state are you in?
I usually don't say. I'm pretty anonymous online.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Got it. Yeah.
But I'm
Okay.
somewhere, in the general
Yeah, that's
vicinity.
fair.
Who
Fair answer.
knows?
Uh,
But I'm actually originally from the Minneapolis area,
okay.
and he's probably really cold right now. I don't miss that.
Otter Creek Aquatics is wondering, what is your most memorable moment in the hobby?
My most memorable moment. That's a tough one. Probably making the Hobbit tank,
Yeah.
or like spawns of fish that I'm really excited about and really hopeful about, and that spawn goes right, and I have tons of babies, and I'm so excited and happy. There's just too many moments. I can't really think about my favorite one. Ooh, I had a very difficult species to breed, a Betta macrostoma, and I've had
Oh yeah.
success with them. And every single time, I'm just super stoked about it. But I have a very finicky pair I'm working with.
So I've got another question here from Caitlin Schmidt. What advice would you give to someone trying to breed bettas for the first time?
Read, research everything you can possibly read, and just engulf information for a while. I get this question a lot. And I like to recommend people to a few websites that I originally kind of learned everything from years and years ago when it comes to breeding. And I would say I always recommend people to go to the Inglorious Bettas website. Inglorious Bettas is actually a channel on here on YouTube, but she's not super
Yeah.
active anymore because she's super busy. But I still highly recommend her. And then I always recommend people to the Betta Territory website, which is a Betta Territory
Oh.
dot years and years ago. And people ask me, how do you breed fish? And I just say, go here and just read everything that you can possibly read and never stop reading and learning.
Rob's Loach is another great guest. How much do you pay them? That's between Taylor and
A lot of money.
Rob. Okay. All right. Got kind of a general question here from Flash 2294. What advice would you give a new fish owner?
Oh, a new fish owner. What advice would you give a new fish owner? Keep your water parameters awesome and species appropriate, and have fun. Just have fun. Get a fish that you're going to enjoy. I get so many questions like, I have a 10-gallon tank. What should I get? And I'm like,
Yeah.
you just say, what do you like the best? Just have fun.
Yeah, maybe do your research, because that'll make things a lot easier for you. And you will fail, but you know what? Hopefully you learn from your mistakes and you can get past it. Jackson K's got a question here. As you've seen at Aquatic Experience, the Northeast is a big South American cichlid area. What's a big piece of advice you would give one of us for transitioning to bettas?
I have no idea because I've never kept cichlids. I don't know how to transition to anything because I've only been obsessed with bettas. I would say that
And
you can have
Corey's.
plants, instead of not being able to have any. I know that about cichlids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could. Yeah, start switching over to those planted tanks, and water changes aren't as frequent for you. So
Yeah, and
that's
it's
definitely
addictive too. It's fun to have plants, and you start to get collectoritis. And I think bettas are great to transition over to because they still have personalities. Like like big cichlids, they have
hmm
personalities. I think you little tiny bettas can have really great personalities too.
they can. Sometimes they're jerks, but sometimes
Oh
they're
yeah.
really nice fish. Um, Aquarium Monsters has got a question. What's your favorite all-time fish? Guessing it's a betta. Okay, so what's your all-time favorite fish that is not a betta?
That's a good question. My all-time favorite species that's not a betta. I really like paradise fish, which is very close to being a betta fish. It's just like one step removed from being a betta fish. But yes, paradise fish. There's some beautiful varieties, and I'm going to try to probably get a couple pretty soon. And if I had to pick a couple, I also really like a tiny, tiny little nano species, the least killifish or Heterandria formosa. I just think they're beautiful and tiny and cute and stripy. I also like white clouds. I also like guppies because they're easy. See, that's a
Yeah,
tough question too. 'Cause
I like uh, I like the
I
clown
have
killies. I
to
don't know
think
if you
of
know.
it.
Sometimes they're called the rocket killies. Their color scheme is like a clown loach, but then they've got this tail with blue on the outsides and like orange and red in the middle. And they're little nano fish, but they're super easy to breed as long as you keep them as a species only tank because other fish like to eat their eggs.
Oh, I've
But
seen them before. I've never kept them.
yeah,
I really love a huge tank full of coolie loaches, like a hundred
coolie loaches.
thousand coolie loaches.
That's a lot of coolie loaches. That would cost
I
you a
want
little
them
bit.
all. Hmm.
Kingley says guppies.
Yeah,
Of
yeah, you
course.
know it.
Uh, Phoenix
Nice.
Aquatic is wondering if you like rainbow fish.
I do like rainbow fish. I've kept the blue-eyed rainbow fish, which is Pseudomagil gertrude or Gertrude Pseudomagil,
hmm
and I've bred them. They're a really beautiful little egg scatterer. But then I decided, that's not quite for me. I like my bettas more. So I've experimented a lot, but I do like the tiny little rainbow fish. I've never done the big rainbow fish, though I don't really have the room for it.
Arnie BC says, "Hey guys, Bennett the Betta says hi, great guest." So Arnie is my neighbor who we just did a video on a couple of weeks ago of how he was setting up a 5 gallon. So I sped up the nitrogen cycle on his tank for him. So that's great that Bandit's doing well.
Great.
Question from Learning to Fish Keep: is there a certain type of betta that lives longer than others?
That's a good question. Um,
The strong ones?
that's a good question. There are a lot of factors that can go into domestic lifespans, but if you're talking about like domestic versus wilds, maybe I'm not the best person to ask about that.
Okay, let's go to the
Yeah,
next one.
Big City Betta, she's in the chat. She has a lot of experience with wilds. She might be able to give like an approximate lifespan of wild species, but I don't know yet.
There's kind of a general question here. How do you save a dying betta? And thanks. Maybe let's
Oh,
talk
well,
about
first, clean water, warm water.
what are some of the like common reasons why you would lose a betta?
The most common reasons I think are improper water parameters, like not changing out water enough, not having a filter. The next, I think, would be cold temperatures. I mean, you're making the fish a lot more susceptible to things
hmm
like fin rot and ick and just nasty, very common things, fungus. So first thing that your fish is dying, first thing you do, make sure the water's clean, make sure it's warm. And then you can also use, I would say, first step is to use aquarium salt at a proper dosage, which is usually like a teaspoon per gallon or a tablespoon per 5 gallons, and treat that fish and happens. That's what I would do.
I got a question
If I
from
had antibiotics, if I had medications, I might, do like a round of medications, but that's the first thing I would do if I had nothing.
I've got a question from Aquagali. Do you do anything to your water other than just dechlorinate? Asking because they have hard water.
I used to only use dechlorinator. I have really hard water. And all my adult fish, they get the hard water and they do fine. And I'm breeding generations of fish in my hard water and they're doing great. But when it comes to like my babies, my spawns, my itty bitty little hatchling fish, I soften the water by diluting it by about half with reverse osmosis water. And I also add tannins, which not only it softens it, it makes it slightly more acidic. That I wouldn't have
I've got a
more
question
parts.
here. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Nowadays, I also add a tannin extract. I have a big jug of like a concentrated tannin extract, and I just pour a capful in my water, and I'm just experimenting with it to see what happens.
Have you ever done a Blackwater Betta setup?
Yeah, I do have a couple setups like that for a few wild species of mine. Most notably, I have Betta macrostoma, which does really
Yeah.
great in low pH. I keep my adults like in regular tap water; they do fantastic. But then when I want to put them into breeding mode, or I'm raising spawns, I definitely keep soft water, and I have super black water.
There's a question here. Do you ever plan on doing an all Betta species tank? Maybe asking about doing like a giant sorority tank?
Well, I kind of have sorority tanks. They're not giants, but it's just how I keep my females, and they do fine. But maybe if they mean like an all species tank, like a big, full of all
Yeah.
kinds of species of bettas, no, I don't think so. I wouldn't want to risk fighting. I just wouldn't want to risk it. I feel nervous.
Yeah, I see some of those channels that put like a bunch of them together and then like let them fight. That's not the greatest.
Oh, no.
Priscilla asking a question that you've kind of answered already earlier was what's the prettiest Betta to you? Which you kind of said like the koi Betta maybe.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites because of the pattern. What's the prettiest? If I had to look at something and be like, oh, it would probably be, just a really beautifully built half moon. So a long fin with proper finnage, with strong finnage that's flaring just right. That's what it would be the most beautiful.
I got another question from Brandon here wondering if money wasn't an option, what fish and or tank would you have?
If money was an option. Is space an option? Is
No.
space not an option?
No.
What do you think? Let's just say I had the biggest tank I ever wanted. Probably just like a cool, doofy looking flower horn. I can't think of any like super expensive fish that I feel interested in, except for a big, doofy, cool looking, colorful hybrid cichlid.
Carlos has got a question here that we may modify a little. He recently got a new Betta that he feels like he saved because he was looking like he had ammonia burn on him. Will he recover his fins? He's doing fine, just wondering. That's also, it goes towards like nipping too. Like if you put your Betta in with a community tank and the fins get nipped, are they going to grow back?
Yeah, they grow back. You can tell they're growing back because you start to see this kind of translucent looking edge, and that's the fins starting to grow back. But if there's enough damage to the fins, they might never grow back to what they were before.
Yeah, I've seen that before too, where they kind of get attacked quite a bit and then it's almost down to nothing and they grow back, but they may not be as beautiful as they once were.
Yeah, and like I have some males who have gotten really beat up or nipped at, like their fins have been nipped at in this, and their fins, they heal, but they'll never come back to what they were before. And this is usually for the long-finned males. I have that problem with.
Priscilla's saying not your favorite, the prettiest, but I think we've pretty much already stepped all over that one. We've got Lumpy Dog in the house here, and I think I've cut everyone. Okay, here's a question for you, Taylor. Would you ever consider doing a saltwater tank?
Oh yeah. Oh man, I'd love to do a saltwater tank. I have a problem sometimes and taking on too many projects all at once. So I've actually told myself, no, you can't do a saltwater tank until you've kind of calmed your life down a little bit. But I'd love to, even if it was just kind of a smaller setup, like 50 gallons. I do have that on my horizons. I also have some ornamental shrimp on my horizons, which I'm really excited about too.
You're getting those from Flip Aquatics, right?
You bet I am. I don't know which ones I want yet, though, but I'm like daydreaming about it all the time just because they're so cool. And I've never had them.
Rob from Flip Aquatics is going to be an upcoming guest on the show as well. We just are working on a date right now.
Nice.
But I had a so if you started a saltwater tank, you'd probably kind of start with maybe like some clownfish or something, but then you would eventually grow and get corals, and then you'd have like all these tanks, and you'd be going crazy and having all these weird things, right? That's
That's
what I would do.
look
That's
what's
totally what I
happened
would
to me.
do.
Look
Yeah.
what's happened to me. I started out with a couple bettas and now I have hundreds. Can you imagine me with starting saltwater? It's scary. I'm almost a little bit scared to start shrimp, but I have to tell myself, okay, no collectoritis. You just pick one variety and stick with it.
Are you gonna start with like a cherry shrimp?
I think I'm going to start with like some blue bolts, but I also really like the orange ones and I really like the yellow ones, but definitely some neocaridinias.
Yeah.
If that's
Yeah.
how you say it,
They're
neocaridinias. Yeah.
narrow Chiridenia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carid, not Di. You
All
said it
right.
right.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Cool.
I got a question here. Have you ever kept? Do you currently? We know that you have kept the orange laser corridoras, but do you currently keep any catfish?
No, I don't. I sold my nice big school of orange laser cories that I mainly bred by myself. And I haven't gotten any cories again. Actually, wait, I take that back. I got some Corydora Hestatus because I was planning on making a setup with Hestatus and Coolie Loaches and how
Yeah.
fun it would be. But then some chaos happened and that never came to fruition. So I was like, oh my god, I have to get rid of this school of 20 Hestatus. And so I just gave it to a friend of mine. I shipped it to him and he put it in his tank because he already had Hestatus. So,
Uh,
and I haven't had catfish since.
Joseph's saying that blue bolts are a Chiridenia, and I have bunches for sale. Well, if you wanted to go with the blue Neos, you can get the Dream Blues. Those are the ones that I have.
Oh, blue
They're,
bolts
they're
aren't neos. They're not neocaridinias.
they are not. No.
Oh, okay. Then I mean the other blue ones.
Yeah, Dream Blues or Blue Velvet
Oh,
or Blue Wizards.
I definitely
Yeah,
want neocaridinia because my tap water's so hard. I just think it's perfect.
yeah. I'm with you. I did shrimp a few. I still have shrimp, but I started a few years ago, and I not knowing a lot about them, and I got like, oh, these cherry shrimp and like neos, they're all doing so well. I'm gonna get some tangerine tigers, which are Caridinia. Those actually did pretty good for a while, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna get red cherry shrimp and black cherry shrimp, and I bought like 10 of each, and I threw them all in the same tank, like mixed them with the neos, and never saw any shrimplets. And about 6 months later, all I had left was neos. So yeah,
Oh,
they are trickier than.
oh, that's too bad.
But
Yeah,
you know what? We live and learn.
yeah. I mean, I did try shrimp once. I tried some caridinias just in like a little fish order when I was a super beginner, and of course they didn't do well. And of course, because I have super hard water and it's not appropriate for them, and I know that now. So I hope I can do better.
Question from Aquagali. Do you ever worry that your bettas might not get cared for when you sell them?
Yeah, that's always a risk. That's a risk if I sell to the pet store. It's a risk if I sell online.
Yeah.
But I try not to think about it. I like to think that my pet store has their little pamphlets and does a good job explaining what fish need. There's not much I can do about it besides try to spread the word.
Well, if anybody else, oh, here we go. Do you name your fish?
Only my favorites. It's hard to name fish because I have so many and so many favorites that I usually just call them by what they are, like genetically,
Mm-hmm.
and how I would describe them. Like, oh, well, that's my my yellow and black marble. That right there is my metallic green half moon. They don't get interesting names. I've had a couple, but they're special fish.
Does anybody else have any questions in the chat here? Because we are coming rounding down to the end, and Taylor has been awesome and agreed to come on today. And Taylor, it's been so much fun having you on. You're such
Oh,
an
thanks. Yeah, it's been fun being on.
interesting person. I love your personality. It's perfect for YouTube.
Aw,
And
shucks.
no, that's why I think you're skyrocketing your channel. It's
Well,
not so
thanks.
much the fish. The fish are pretty, for sure. The fish are very pretty, but
Well,
it's your
thanks. I have
personality or editing skills. Yeah.
Well, thanks. I have the tendency to be very enthusiastic about the things that I like. And people, like, I've had people telling me, like, oh, you're overacting. Like, you're overacting. And what they don't know is this is just how I am every single day. They don't know. It's a problem.
I got a question from Priscilla. Where do you see yourself in 10 years with bettas?
I see myself in 10 years. I don't think that far ahead. Okay, in 10 years, I have my own home, like my own house,
Yeah.
and I have a basement. And that basement I have turned into just this beautiful, just fish basement, which does auto water changes. And I'm still having fun on YouTube. And I'm doing so many other things because, of course, my interests have branched out.
Yeah.
And life is paradise because that's what I see myself as in 10 years. We'll see if that actually happens. Good question.
Yeah, Jamie, it's definitely the guess. I don't play a part in it. I was gonna say, so you've had your 10 things that you wanted to accomplish this year. Number 10 is more live streams. So you know what? You've crossed that one off. We've already got you on here. Maybe I know your live streams are gonna be awesome too. I have seen the one that you did with Big City Betas, which was a while ago now. But
Yeah, that was the first
yeah,
one I did and like the only one. Is that the only one that I've done? I've done a few on other people's channels.
yeah,
Yeah, that's about it. I just told myself I really would like to start it because I like this live interaction and talking, and it's fun and it's casual. But like my problem is I can't find a set time that I have to have like a consistent schedule like you have. You have this great consistent schedule. I have a hard time doing that just because the toddler and is she gonna
yeah.
sleep tonight and what else do I have going on and
Well,
all that.
it's hard to keep it consistent for sure, and mine
Yeah.
won't be as we go later because I've got two kids as well. Both of them play baseball, which is starting soon. I coach both their teams. That's 6 days a week, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen. So I just started doing the stream thing in like October, and so that was easy then. But we'll see what happens. So thank you everybody for coming. Thank you to the mods. Thank you so much, Taylor. It was so much fun. And your next video is coming out when?
I'm supposed to have a video by tomorrow. I'm not done editing it yet though. So maybe
Okay.
tomorrow. Maybe.
Okay. And then maybe the day after if it's not there?
Yeah, it would be the day after if it's not by tomorrow. I'm really gonna try to make it tomorrow.
Okay.
It's just a silly
Well,
video about how I hurt my hands and how my husband has to pick up all my slack.
well, yeah.
And the poor guy is being such a good sport about it.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks very much. And we will see you next week. We have got Master Breeder Dean Tweedle. He is on same time, 7 o'clock Pacific time, Wednesday. Thanks again. Join me next week for another edition of Friday Fish Facts.